Have you ever thought about what happened to the Death Eaters after Voldemort's downfall? What if some of them found ways to escape justice, while others faced fates worse than death? In today's video, you will find out the shocking truth about how the Dark Lord's most loyal followers were punished. Long before the Death Eaters terrorized the wizarding world, a young Tom Riddle gathered a group of like-minded Slytherins. They believed themselves to be his friends, though he never truly cared for them. According to Albus Dumbledore, they were either weak students seeking protection or cruel individuals looking for a leader to justify their actions. These early followers would later become the first Death Eaters. Under Voldemort, they became an unstoppable force, enforcing his will in both magical wars. But even after their master's demise, some managed to survive. Their fates were filled with fear, betrayal, and ultimately, justice. Where did the Death Eaters come from? By 1970, Voldemort had officially formed the Death Eaters, starting with former Hogwarts students, mostly from Slytherin. They referred to him as the Dark Lord, and those he deemed worthy received the Dark Mark, a skull with a snake, a symbol of ultimate loyalty. Convinced of his immortality, they sought to overthrow the Ministry of Magic. Their numbers far exceeded those of the Order of the Phoenix. What did the Death Eaters do in the First Wizarding War? They spread terror. They attacked in secret, tortured, killed, and marked their victims' homes with the Dark Mark. Muggle and wizard alike lived in fear. Only Dumbledore's Order of the Phoenix and a desperate ministry stood in their way. But their efforts were not enough. What happened when the Dark Lord vanished? The war ended abruptly when Voldemort attacked baby Harry Potter and disappeared. With no master to guide them, the Death Eaters fell into chaos. Many were arrested without trial and sent straight to Azkaban. Bartemius Crouch Sr., head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, authorized the use of unforgivable curses against them. Some, like Sirius Black, were wrongly imprisoned, while others, like Lucius Malfoy, avoided punishment by claiming they were under the Imperius Curse, who was punished after the First War. Most Death Eaters went into hiding, but the most devoted, like Bellatrix Lestrange and Barty Crouch Jr., continued searching for Voldemort. In a desperate attempt to find him, they tortured the Aurors Frank and Alice Longbottom into insanity. For this crime, they were captured and sentenced to Azkaban. Others, like Evan Rosier, fought to the death rather than be taken alive. How did the Death Eaters return? On June 24, 1995, Voldemort regained his body with the help of Peter Pettigrew. He summoned his followers, though some, like Igor Karkaroff, were too afraid to return. Even Severus Snape hesitated, returning only under Dumbledore's orders. The Ministry, led by Cornelius Fudge, refused to believe Voldemort was back. The Death Eaters used this to their advantage, working in the shadows to rebuild their power. They allied with Dementors and Giants, strengthening their ranks. In 1996, a mass prison break from Azkaban released many of their captured members. The Order of the Phoenix, however, also regrouped. In a battle at the Department of Mysteries, 11 of 12 Death Eaters were captured, but not before one of them, Bellatrix Lestrange, killed Sirius Black. The war had begun. How did the Death Eaters seize power? Though their exposure weakened them, the Death Eaters were relentless. They resumed their reign of terror, targeting key figures like Wandmaker Ollivander and Amelia Bones, head of magical law enforcement. Their objectives were clear: kill Dumbledore, capture Harry Potter, and take over the Ministry. On August 1, 1997, they stormed the Ministry, killing Minister Rufus Scrimgeour. Under their control, the Ministry granted them full amnesty. Voldemort now ruled the wizarding world from the shadows. How did the Death Eaters fall? The final battle took place at Hogwarts. As Harry and his friends destroyed the remaining Horcruxes, Voldemort became vulnerable. Harry, realizing he himself was a Horcrux, willingly faced Voldemort's killing curse, but he survived. Meanwhile, Neville Longbottom beheaded Voldemort's last Horcrux, the snake Nagini. The Dark Lord, weakened and alone, was finally defeated. What happened to the Death Eaters after Voldemort's death? With Voldemort gone, the dark marks on their arms faded into scars. Many fled, but justice found them. Some, like Barty Crouch Jr., were already beyond saving. He had lost his mind to a Dementor's kiss. Igor Karkaroff, who had betrayed his comrades, was hunted down and killed. Others, like Bellatrix Lestrange, fell in battle. Molly Weasley personally ended her reign of terror. Not all faced death. The Malfoys were spared for their betrayal of Voldemort in the final battle. Lucius gave up his former allies, while Draco distanced himself from his family's past. But most were not so lucky. Those captured were sentenced to life in Azkaban. Without Dementors, imprisonment was less of a nightmare, but still a fate few would wish upon themselves. Was this truly the end? In 2018, a magical disaster known as the Calamity shook the world. Strangely, dark figures in black robes and skull masks reappeared, attempting to reignite the fear of the past. Were they remnants of the Death Eaters, a new generation of dark wizards? Whatever their origins, they soon vanished, leaving only questions behind. And so the tale of the Death Eaters finally came to an end. Or did it? Darkness never truly dies. When Lord Voldemort fell, the wizarding world breathed a sigh of relief. But power is a dangerous temptation, and fear is an even greater weapon. His followers scattered, but not all of them accepted defeat. Some vanished into the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Among them was Theodore Nott, a Slytherin like Draco Malfoy, but quieter, more reserved. His father had been a Death Eater, but unlike the Malfoys, the Notts never begged for forgiveness. They kept to themselves, their true allegiances unknown. Theo inherited more than just a name. His father's collection of dark artifacts was legendary. It was said that after the war, he spent years studying them, searching for a way to bring back what had been lost. "Magic leaves traces," Dumbledore once said. "It lingers, waiting for someone to call upon it." Some believed that Nott found remnants of Voldemort's power hidden in the cursed objects his father had hoarded. Ancient tomes whispered of rituals that could tether a soul to this world. But to do so, one needed followers, believers willing to sacrifice everything. Enter Delphi, the self-proclaimed daughter of Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange, raised in secrecy. She had been young when the Dark Lord fell, but by the time she emerged, she carried his name like a banner. "I am the past. I am the future," she declared, determined to rewrite history. She sought out those who still longed for the return of the old ways. Many had no desire to fight again. The Malfoys withdrew from the world, their ties to Voldemort now a stain they wished to erase. Others, like Draco, had been broken by the war. But there were still those who whispered in the dark, those who had lost everything and wanted revenge. Knockturn Alley became their meeting ground, a place where dark magic thrived, untouched by the Ministry's watchful eye. Rumors spread of secret gatherings, masked figures discussing how the wizarding world had been weakened. They spoke of the old bloodlines, of restoring order. The Ministry dismissed them as nothing more than bitter remnants of a lost cause. But they underestimated the hunger for power. "You think because Voldemort is gone, the war is over?" A hooded figure once told an informant. "Wars never end. They just wait for the right moment to begin again." Delphi sought to manipulate time itself, believing she could rewrite the past. But her plans failed. She was captured, her name erased from history. Yet she was not the only one who wished to see Voldemort's vision live on. Others, more patient, more careful, continued working in the shadows. There were whispers about Rookwood's old network, about Inferi found deep in the forbidden forest, about a masked figure seen leaving Borgin and Burke's with a book bound in human skin. The Ministry assured the public that all Death Eaters had been dealt with. But fear remained. Voldemort had been a symbol, and symbols are not so easily erased.